Salutations, I'm StarLotus77, and today we've got... Oh, okay, hold up. Why was my freaking microphone that loud? Okay, there we go. So, what we've got here is we've got Chain Zane, my iteration of Chain Zane. Chain Zane, as the history of it, was originally a build devised for Maliwan Takedown based off an item that you get in Maliwan Takedown called the Redistributor. And so what this SMG does is it chains across enemies based off of amp damage. So, amp damage you get from barrier, while barrier is up and you shoot through it, you always are dealing amp damage. So, the Redistributor will always chain because it's always amped. Now, this mechanic, which still works, is what dictated Zane's meta for a while. He is able to shove a boatload of gun damage into this gun. So, being able to shove a boatload of gun damage into any gun, this weapon just works because you're shoving it through the amp, which is chaining off of multiple enemies. Pretty good. Then, at the time, there was also a bug in the game where every extra element that you applied added an actual extra projectile, and it gave an extra projectile's amount of damage bonus. So, every time it chains, it would duplicate projectiles, causing insane damage. It didn't only affect this SMG, it also affected items such as the recursion, which definitely got nerfed because the recursion was absolutely broken, creating the Ricochet Witch meta over from Moxie. And so that mechanic applied to all weapons, not just the recursion, in which it also applied to the Redistributor. That got nerfed, and when that got fixed, not nerfed, it got fixed. When that bug got fixed, a lot of people thought that the Redistributor was no longer usable because that also happened to apply to the Redistributor. And that's just not the case. We are here today, a long time after, to showcase this weapon is still amazing despite that bug being patched. And not only that, but we will be showcasing other weapons that I like to use when using my iteration of Chain Zane. Now, today's Chain Zane, we will be using Calm Cool Collected instead of using the Sea and Dead. You can still use the Sea and Dead and not go down Green Tree if you want. Heck, you don't even need to if you have enough action skill cooldown with Good Misfortune and Mantis Cannon. But I will be rocking Calm Cool Collected because I love that skill. And that's going to be a lot of crit hits and brain freeze. That's why we are rocking a Hustler, giving us those artificial crit hits to proc brain freeze to give us that really fun damage. Outside of that, we have Eraser, which is really good with piercing damage. I think I may have lowered my microphone a tad too much. There we go. Okay, so Eraser is really good for piercing stuff, which we'll be using with the Gibbsworth, another SMG that I had in my loadout. And we have Our Man Flint, which Our Man Flint, every time you crit while ADSing, it automatically applies the status effect, which is guarantee applies the status effects that you are hitting the enemy with. And then no matter what you're doing while you're ADSing, it will always deal bonus status effect damage to all things. So, literally no matter what you are doing, it will be 25% bonus damage while ADSing. So, you could not be critting and shooting somebody with some random freaking weapon, or not even shooting people. You could be slamming, and then when you ADS after you slam and you dealt some sort of dot, it will apply that 25% bonus to that dot damage, or to a spark plug damage, or to whatever you're using. So ADSing with this will always give you that 25% damage on all damage sources that apply status effect. We have a lot of cooldown. As I said, cooldown's really fun with Mantis Cannon to make this work. It works really well with that. And then over here, we have Salvation for healing. We have Good Misfortune for more duration on our barrier. If you want, you could run 1 in Good Misfortune with this particular setup and put 2 in Cool Hand, or put points in Playing Dirty. That way we're getting more projectiles or more reload speed. Nothing in Red Tree. And yeah, Green Tree go burr. Rockin' Redistributor. Then the SMOG this weapon can be substituted out with everything else on the right side of the screen. So a KO Sin, a Bloodstarved Beast, even a 9-volt works, a Crossroads, a family-friendly SMG, any of those items, it can substitute out. Just relatively any SMG that has some sort of elemental effect, it works really well with it. You could run either an action skill and next to mags or elemental crit hits. This works really freaking well on this setup. Elemental crit hits, how this works is out of all of the dots that you apply, if you were rocking radiation on the base weapon, then corrosive and shock on your other 2 action skill and anointments, so you're getting 3 different elements. Let's say your initial shot did 300k, okay? So your initial dot is 300k, and then 50%, so 150k, is now also being applied of corrosive damage, and then another 150k is also being applied as shock damage. Now your radiation explosion from your elemental crit hit, the radiation explosion is going to be 600k times 5, which is 3 million damage, which is nuts, absolutely bonkers. It adds all of the damage up, and then it multiplies it by 5 and makes that as a singular explosion. Who asked for that? I have no idea. It is so much fun. This thing was written off so fast because it was based off a status effect. But this is so much fun of an anointment. And it works super well on this build. Status effect based. I love doing status effect based stuff on Zane. I think he's probably the best status effect character in the game because of Iron Man Flint. If not, second to like Amara. And maybe not even Amara. Actually, maybe second to just simply Mose, not even Amara. I don't think Amara can compete. I think it's just second to Mose with firing the Skag Den. And even then, you're not even doing that for status effects. Yeah, I mean, like, those are the 2 competitors, and neither of them are really gonna compete. Firing the Skag Den competes in a different way. It's not a status effect. It's just blatant damage. This is status effect based, which is different. And that's what I'm saying is, like, Zane is probably the best status effect character. And yeah, let's get started with this run. Oh, and by the way, this build's I don't remember if I started with this, but this build was devised because Raid Sauce, twitch.tv/RaidSauce, he's a streamer that I like to watch. He does a lot of Borderlands 2 content. Go check him out. He said that the Redistributor no longer is a good setup. Like, the chain Zane setups that Moxie uses are no longer good because the Redistributor bad. He said that once, and I was quick to correct him in chat. But he did say that, and so we are making a video on how it works and how good it is. As you can tell from if you ignore the attempt at using single target with the Redistributor. The setup is really freaking good. Don't use it for single target. It will not work. It is not a single target weapon, and you will be fine. But go check him out. He makes amazing Twitch streams. Makes amazing Twitch streams. That's not a sentence you say. He's very entertaining when he is live. He has been having Spotify troubles today, so I pray that fixes by the time you guys get to go check out his content. But he has a little redeem where you get to redeem different music that gets to play in the stream, and a lot of the times he will have something to say about that music whenever it plays. If it's just like if the game is taking precedent, or whatnot. But most of the time, he has some sort of comment to say. Well, there's a Radsplosion for you. Elemental crit hits go burr. Redistributor just soloed Kraken. So, for those of you that actually had any doubts about this weapon being good against in modern contents, good luck proving that now. Look at that. Look at that. Freaking Dot killed Sigdrifta from a couple chain shots from from one Valk. Alright, Kibsworth. Not going to be as good as the D.N.A, but it is still a really good single-target weapon. D.N.A is really good against the bigger multi-hitbox targets. The Kibsworth is better against the smaller targets, so, like, it has to be a bigger than, like, an average ad, but smaller. Like, not smaller, that's not the right word. Just, like, singular hitbox. The Kibsworth is better against enemies that have a singular hitbox. The Valks have multiple hitboxes, and so the D.N.A does a lot better against them than the Kibsworth will do. And then you can use the Kibsworth against, like, the bigger ad types, so, like, heavyweights. Heavyweights it does really well against. That kind of stuff. Can you, like, go back up, please? Thank you. Alright, then we're gonna switch to the SMOG to showcase its damage a little bit. There we go. Well, as I was saying, Raid Sauce is the one who got me to make this video, so if it wasn't for him, this video wouldn't have been made, and the next video that I'm gonna release on the channel, if it wasn't for him suggesting this build, I probably wouldn't have released the next one on this, the next video for my challenge build videos. So the next challenge build video is gonna be about the polyamorous SMG, which is another chaining SMG item. If it wasn't for this setup, I wouldn't have even thought that it would have been even slightly viable to run. I still would have made a video on it at some point and tried and probably discovered this, but I wouldn't have made it so early in the challenge build line. It's super fun. Him telling me to make this was the whole way I discovered that elemental crit hits were so busted and so much fun. Because I was just like, well, if I'm constantly chaining stuff, and I need a little bit of a damage boost, if I'm constantly chaining stuff, then why not use elemental crit hits? Because I'm getting a whole bunch of enemies to do novas, causing maybe multiple novas to hit the same person, causing explosions of radiation to kill the enemy. And it worked just as I thought, but way better. And it allowed me to discover crazy tech that is absolutely nuts. If I could aim, that would make this even better. But yeah, so if it wasn't for the setup and learning how elemental crit hits works, I probably wouldn't be able to make a setup that the polyamorous would work well with. But because of elemental crit hits, the polyamorous is absolutely nuts. It's so much fun for killing ads. It's not as good as the Redistributor, and it would take the same slot, but it is an amazing SMG. It's sort of like it's the precursor to the Redistributor. So Redistribute you get from clearing this specific content. So running this content with it isn't really all that rewarding. If anything, the Redistributor, you're going to want to use it in, like, Guardian Takedown to really show that you've... to really show that your build has gotten even more capable. So running something like the polyamorous here would actually be a good idea, like to get the redistributor, because the redistributor, again, direct upgrade to the polyamorous when it comes to this. So rocking a polyamorous and then rocking the redistributor, it just works. It fits. The polyamorous you get from the Valentine's Day event, so you definitely don't need to run raid content to get that. Alright, this is where we actually use the SMOG, right here. So again, those shots that are being amped don't actually really get that much of an increase in damage. I'm ADSing for Our Man Flint to get those Nova procs. You know what? How well... Is this close enough for me to chain off the boss? It is. Holy heck. Okay. And then we eraser proc to the boss, and then we get some ads to get closer to the boss. I kind of want to do this redistributor only. Like, this... No, because I also want to show off the D.N.A. We'll do this first section redistributor there, and then show off the D.N.A. If I could aim. There we go. Oh, that chained the bosses, and because of that, he's on the ground, and I can D.N.A. him to death. Let's go. Alright, there's a little ad there. And then here's a good spot to just switch to the SMOG, ADS, and then boom. So what happened there was that little hitbox there is actually multiple death hitboxes, so every time you shoot that, it counts as him dying. But he doesn't actually die until he takes the proper health damage. So the damage mechanic is you are constantly getting Headsplosion to proc, and you're getting Eraser proc with the SMOG amp. It doesn't matter what weapon you use there. You could use the SMOG, use the Redistributor, you could use the Gibbsworth, you could use the D.N.A. All of them are going to do the same thing. But I use the SMOG because it's really nice for that precision shot, because you need to get that really nice angle to get all those hitboxes lined up to kill. But yeah, that's modern chain Zane. If you guys want a separate video running only Redistributor against all of this content, I can do that, although I highly doubt it's necessary, because this video very much showcased how good the Redistributor is. And we'll be doing a second video with the Polyamorous, showcasing how good that is as a runner-up to the Redistributor, or at least a predecessor to it when you are running for farming for Redistributor against Wotan and the Valks, because this is where you get it. And yeah, hope you all have a nice night, and go check out RaidSauced over at twitch.tv/RaidSauced for amazing Borderlands 2 content. He's been doing one lives. I mean, he does a lot of BL2 challenge stuff. He's been doing the core player challenge stuff as well. So go check him out. He's been doing amazing content on Twitch.